Priced at Rs 30,000 or at about $430, the Blackberry Classic is all about bringing the BlackBerry basics back to life. I'm Karan Rani from MobiScrub, and this is the full review of the Classic. The device is powered by a 1.5 GHz quad-core processor backed by an impressive 2 GB of RAM, an 8 megapixel shooter at the back with full HD video recording capability, microSD card storage capability of 128 GB, a nano SIM card slot. The device is not 4G enabled, and a 25-15 mAh battery which is non-removable. Now the device is quite bulky and dense at 177 grams, and it's a solid 10.2 millimeters thick. The back has a premium leather type finish and it feels really nice and soft to touch. It definitely adds, class to the entire appeal. Now there is no way to access the battery. The housing is completely sealed, and this means that if your BlackBerry is ever stuck or there's a hang, you can't go back to pushing the battery out and restarting the phone. On the right edge, you have a pair of volume buttons separated by a key dedicating to launching the digital assistant. On the top edge, there seems to be two microphones separated by the power and lock key and a 3.5mm headphone jack at the edge. Now, at the bottom edge, there's a USB 2.0 data syncing and charging port, but the two grills that you see are not both speakers. One of them is a speaker while the other one is just a microphone. On the left edge, there are two slots, one for the nano SIM and the other for a microSD card, of course, which can be up to 128 gigabytes in storage, and that's brilliant. You will of course need a key or a pin to open these slots, which could be a pain at times when you don't have one around and you really need to change SIM cards. I can easily wrap my hands around the device, which means I can easily operate it using a single hand. Now, as you can see, the control on the device is pretty solid. It feels like it's not going anywhere, and I can really, maneuver it, or I could really just toss it around in my hand without any issues. But that's also because it feels pretty solid. And of course, I'm really confident about the sturdy nature of the device's build. Now here's a closer look at the leather finish that the device has, and again, it really just adds a lot of sophistication to the overall design. The display is a 3.5-inch screen in diagonal size with a not so very high, but again, acceptable resolution of 720 by 720 pixels. Now, it's not a very high-tech display, but then again, a typical BlackBerry user is not going to really complain if most of the job involves messaging, emails, and making calls. The keyboard layout is a blast from the past. You have the top row, which has your operation buttons, menu, call, return with the optical trackpad in the center, and then 3 rows of alphabets and numbers cramped on the left side, and the bottommost row for symbols and the spacebar. The optical trackpad is really what I have always missed in BlackBerry, the first ever optical trackpad that I've ever used, and I really, really like it. Now, like all BlackBerry devices, this device too takes up about a minute to launch up, but then again, if you're a BlackBerry user, you're pretty much used to this phenomena. Talking about the display, the setting allows you to change or correct the brightness and display color settings. So you can tamper with the brightness depending on whether you're inside or outdoors, and you can go, change the white balance from normal to warm to cool, and again back to normal depending on what you really like. Now there are some additional options related to the display settings which you may or may not use. You can completely ignore them as well. It really wouldn't make a lot of difference in your overall experience. Now, but if you look at the colors on the screen, they're quite nice and punchy. The screen is not too soft, and hence the 720p display definitely deserves some credit in rendering the text and the colors really well. Even with a 3.5-inch display, the user interface is very efficiently designed, so people can read messages, emails, and compose messages. The QWERTY keyboard is something I've always liked, and for those who still love it, will continue to love it even in this phone. The device, BlackBerry, is really known for the BlackBerry Hub, which is like that one place where all your messages come together. And that's really interesting because, I really don't like switching between too many apps, which is the case with Android smartphones. You've got a bunch of preloaded apps, of course, the music and the video player. You've got social media apps like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Foursquare, and a couple of utility-oriented apps. The response to touch is really nice. Nothing extraordinary, but then, nothing that's going to spoil your overall experience. You can also call the the settings panel right from a slide of your finger. Another interesting thing is that whatever notifications you get on your phone, they show up on the lock screen, and you can just tap on that notification bell and then tap on the notification itself to open the app that's relevant to that particular notification. So it could be an email, a message, or a reminder. Now, one particular issue with these square displays would be when you want to play widescreen videos, which is pretty much the normal standard these days. First of all, there is no native YouTube app by Google for BlackBerry phones. So while you have an app icon, it really just launches the mobile YouTube page. Now, the display is a 1:1 ratio, while HD videos are 16:9 and in their aspect ratio, which means there would always be some letterboxing, which is the black bands that you see on the top and at the bottom of the video. Well, of course, BlackBerry devices are considered business phones and not really entertainment devices, but this is still a little disappointing. And the other thing is the earphones that you get in the box are not that great. So if you were to use this for the videos that you watch on the Blackberry Classic, it would sort of be a bad experience, especially with the cropped video. I recommend that you buy or use another set of earphones if you really want to, if you really wish to enjoy your videos or your music likewise. The new BlackBerry OS also allows you to switch between tasks or between apps pretty seamlessly. So let's say these were my recent apps. I could open pictures, and once I'm done, I could just go back and, I could also open the camera app. There you go. So it's really pretty simple. There's a screen which is dedicated to showing you what recent apps you've opened and switch between them. So let's open the browser, and I could just swipe my finger from below the screen, and it again adds itself into the list of recent apps. So it's pretty simple. Lastly, let's talk about the camera app. The device has a 8 megapixel primary camera and a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. This is the 16:9, the widescreen photo mode. And let's just quickly snap a couple of pics and see how it comes out. Now you've got tap to focus. That's really nice. Although, it's really not as good as what you see in most high-end Android phones of the same range, actually. Now, if you shift your ratio to 1:1, it takes the entire screen because that's what your screen aspect ratio is. This is great for Instagram, but not for your computers, because your computers are widescreen or your desktop monitors. The shutter speeds are just about okay. It takes a while to focus, but again, I don't think moments are that important for BlackBerry users. In terms of video settings, it's great that you have a 720p at 60 fps mode, which means super smooth videos. All right, it just captures more frames, and hence the videos are really smooth. And of course, you have options to save on a micro SD card if you wanted to. This video stabilization, that's awesome. So that means you can take super smooth videos, which are also very stable. Apart from that, I think you've got a couple of other settings. You've got scene selection. So, depending on where you are, but I don't think that will be very useful when it comes to cameras in the BlackBerry phones, especially in the BlackBerry Classic. It's nothing. I would go to the extent of saying it's a slightly lousy camera, but just gets the job done. It's functional, and if you really want to take a snap of something around, it'll do the job. And also, just let me touch upon the preloaded apps that come into the BlackBerry Classic. For example, Remember, which is a note-taking app. You can add tasks, you can add tags, and you can add your notes, of course. You can create photo notes as well as voice notes. Just helps you keep track of things and keep things organized. And I think it's a basic app, well designed though. Apart from that, so there are a couple of these preloaded apps that come in. I'm not going to touch upon all of them, but here's the Contacts app, because I think this is something that you're going to be using a lot often if you're a business phone user. Of course, it's got T9 dictionary, and as and when you type numbers, it's going to start matching to contacts that are there in your phone book. Of course, Google Sync and all of that is just something that you'll take care of. Very basic music app. It's a business phone, so it's just going to do the basic things. You have 128 GB micro SD card storage capacity. So guys, if you want to go out there and just load all of your music and videos, feel free to do that. It's got a pretty kick-ass clock or an alarm app. Now, something that I want to highlight about the BlackBerry app world is that it's not very evolved. And of course, they've been struggling with it for quite some time now. Developers are not highly willing to create a lot of apps for the BlackBerry world. Now, some apps like LinkedIn, Twitter, Foursquare, Facebook are native. So for example, they're built for the BlackBerry device. But let's talk about Instagram. There is no app for Instagram, or there is no app for Gmail. There's no app for YouTube, right? And if you really want to use them, you just have to go onto their site. And that's what essentially the YouTube app icon does here. So, it's really just how much of a media person or an entertainment buff you are. Because if you are, this phone is probably not for you. It's a functional business phone, guys. And if you're a hardcore BlackBerry fan, I think then only it really just makes sense to stick to a BlackBerry Classic. And again, guys, this phone highly reminds me of the older Blackberries, the Curve that came along, and which I really liked. Personally, I used to own one, and I miss those times because every time now a BBM message comes along and I hear that ringtone or the tune, it kind of makes me feel nostalgic, and so does this phone. So again, here's an example that I was looking for Instagram. There's nothing by Instagram, no official app. There are third-party apps that do the job, but that's about it. So the BlackBerry app world, again, not very evolved. If you're looking for a bunch of apps for your phone, go for an Android or an iPhone. This is strictly official, strictly business. So that's it about the BlackBerry Classic, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the review. If there are any questions, do leave me in the comment section below, and I'll try my best to answer all of them to the best of my knowledge. As compared to the BlackBerry Classic, I would still go for the BlackBerry Passport. I think it's a much better performing device, better screen, just everything much better. Thank you for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe.